This video demonstrates the fuel nozzle flow check for the fuel nozzle from a PT6 engine. We're assuming that we've already done the leak check for the nozzle and the nozzle adapter, and it's passed. So now we're going to install our nozzle adapter into another test rig and check the spray pattern of the fuel nozzle. Again, safety glasses. You should be in a well-ventilated area when you're doing this because we are spraying fuel out here. Another precaution is that we need to have a grounding strap on our test rig so we don't have spark ignition. Again, you need to reference the manufacturer's maintenance manual for this procedure and follow those directions very carefully. Once we've got the fuel nozzle adapter installed into our test rig, we're going to apply some pressure. We're going to apply about 12 psi pressure, and I'm going to try and make sure that I can control this here with another valve, and I'll show you the onion formation of the fuel as it comes out. This onion formation is acceptable under low pressure. It may or may not occur at 12 or 12.5 psi. What we're trying to avoid is the dribbling and drooling, and I will try and demonstrate that as well. Then we're going to increase the pressure, and we're going to see the spray pattern, and we're looking for streaking. Streaking will be evident as a darker area in the spray pattern, and it's the absence of fuel, and you'll have heavier concentrations of fuel on either side of that darker section, and the fuel is not atomizing as much as it needs to be, and that can cause damage inside our engine or poor combustion within our engine. And so we want to avoid streaking. If you have streaking, you can reduce the fuel flow, and using a non-metallic or a brass or other non-metallic brush, you can actually brush the end of your fuel nozzle and try and clear it of those contaminants. To do this, though, you need to have fuel flowing out of that nozzle, because if you're brushing, if you don't have the fuel flowing, brushing it will just push the contaminant back inside the nozzle, and it'll just come back, it'll move back into place once you've got it installed in the engine. So we want to have the fuel flowing and brush this. There is a tolerance for how much streaking you have in the percentage of the cone, but again, you need to reference the manual for that particular number. If you cannot cure the streaking by cleaning up the end of the nozzle, you must replace the nozzle, which means that, again, you would have to do the leak check before you come back and do your spray check for the spray pattern. Okay, I'm going to turn the fuel on, and I'm going to start out, I'm going to try and show some dribbling, drooling, then the onion shape, and then the final spray pattern. If you get very, very little amount of fuel dribbling out or splashing erratically, that's dribbling and drooling, and that's unacceptable. A little more, and you can see the onion formation starting to form right here, and that's acceptable. Our spray pattern at this point is still very coarse, but it's enough to get us light off in the engine. What we're looking for is a spray pattern that is white, circular, and without any streaks. And if you can see in here, there's a couple of sections where there's darker streaks. I may not be able to see it on this video, but there's some darker streaks in there, and that's considered streaking, and that's the unacceptable pattern for putting into our engine. Again, you notice I was wearing gloves, lint-free cotton gloves or other gloves that will not affect the spray pattern if I touch the end of the nozzle. And you should avoid touching the end of the nozzle at all costs, because we don't want to contaminate the end of that fuel nozzle with the salts or acids from our fingers, as it will etch them and it will disrupt that spray pattern. This concludes the video presentation on the spray pattern testing of our PT6 fuel nozzles.